my loves, and welcome back to my channel. We are back with another reading vlog, and this time it is Heir of Fire. Taken like a week from the Throne of Glass series, and I'm so excited to come back into this series, especially with how it left off in the last book, Crown of Midnight. My goal this month is to get through Heir of Fire and then also Queen of Shadows, and I feel like that's a very possible thing to happen. I also just got my reading chair. I just looked at my front doorstep and I was like, wait a second, that's the reading chair I bought. So I think it was like 2 vlogs ago, I bought a reading chair. I just got it from Amazon, and I'm so excited to put it together because I just need a comfy, cozy reading chair. Now I can sit with it with Heir of Fire and read this book. It's chunky. She's a lot chunkier than the other one, but I feel like this series is so digestible, especially because I just finished Iron Flame, and I wouldn't really call that book super digestible. There was a lot going on in that book. Banger ending, don't get me wrong, but there was just a lot going on, and it made me realize that I can absolutely do the tandem read of the 2 books in this series at some point in the future. I was thinking, how am I going to read 2 books at once? Like, I feel like this is impossible. This is something I've never done in my reading history, and now after reading Iron Flame, I'm like, you know what, that tandem read is going to be super easy to do. But let's get into this. I will fill you in. I'll update you guys as I go, as I always do. Also, do you guys like the little bow that I put on this jumper? It's so cute. I love the color of this. Giving very fall vibes even though we're in spring. We are currently in the month of November, so obviously here in Australia we're in spring, although it's a very cold day today. That's why I'm wearing this. And then you guys know me, I had to add a bow to it, and I think it just makes it look so much cuter. A little bit more me.
Used to get my hair done, used to have my nails long, used to wearing makeup every day.
Let's do a little update on how I'm going with the book so far. I was gonna read like 50 pages today, and then turns out I've already read 113 pages, guys. I'm on chapter 15 already. I forgot how easy Throne of Glass series is, and especially coming off Iron Flame. That book was dense. There was a lot going on. I just think that this one has been such an easy read, and it's so funny because I always thought that this was gonna be a really, really overwhelming series, but don't let like the whole 8 books in the series overwhelm you, because this is actually like a super fun and easy series to grab hold of. And I feel like the first few books are the easiest to get into, and this one is like slightly heavier. And what I mean by that is a few more characters being introduced, but I will say with Sarah J Maas, she introduces characters really slowly throughout the books, so it's not super overwhelming. Whereas with Iron Flame, drink break, I need a little sip. Good. With Iron Flame, there was one section where, and this is not a spoiler by the way, not a spoiler warning, I'm not about to do that to you guys. So with Iron Flame, there was a chapter or a few chapters where there was like multiple characters talking at the same time. Like, I'm talking more than 3 characters, and it was a lot to take on, and I don't know if it's because she's leading it into a TV adaptation and maybe that's why she wrote it that way. I have no idea. It was a lot to take on, and I would not call Iron Flame a beginner read. I think Fourth Wing absolutely was, but I wouldn't call Iron Flame a beginner read. Whereas I feel like the Throne of Glass series is like the perfect beginner type of fantasy. I do recommend reading ACOTAR before you read this one. I mean, I do think if you just go into this before you go into ACOTAR, I also at present wouldn't say that's a problem. I just think ACOTAR kind of sets you up for a writing in this. I think the Throne of Glass series is like tenfold a much easier read. I have found it a lot easier than ACOTAR, but I don't know if it's just because I've been reading fantasy for a few months now and it's become like my favorite genre of writing. Honestly, could not recommend this series more. Fill you in a bit more tomorrow with like thoughts so far on the book. I'm back with a little book update. I am on chapter, what am I on? The fact that I literally just forgot that I was on chapter 20. I'm on chapter 20, guys, of this book. As I said last night, super easy reading. I do have a few notes that I want to talk about. So, and again, spoiler free. I'm about to do that spoiler stuff. I don't like that. So I'm not going to do that to you guys too. That being said, let's get into a little update, a little reading update. So first of all, now we have witches. In the previous book, we met one witch, but this one we're meeting many witches. And it kind of is adding to the storyline, which I'm finding very interesting. And I'm very intrigued to see where that's going to go. So I do want to note that down. We're seeing more witches and we're exploring more into witch territory now. Selena has made her debut in this a little bit, but I'm definitely noticing that there is a lot more POV of other characters now, not just Selena. We have Dorian point of view. Again, if I'm saying these names incorrectly, I apologize. I'm so down to be corrected. That's so okay with me. So we have Dorian, who I'm pretty sure at some point is going to get a love interest in this book. I don't know why I feel like it's going to be this book. I don't know if it's this one or the next one, but I can see who I think is going to be the love interest. interest. I'm already noticing it. And I'm really crossing my fingers that I'm right on this one, because I would love to see his character develop a love interest at some point. So that will be fun. And then we also have Cole. He's kind of started to come up in this book. Like, he's obviously, you know, there's a lot of movement in his life. And I have heard in the grapevine that he also gets a love interest at some point. I don't know how that's going to develop, but that's just what I've seen. So we'll see what goes on with that. And then we also have met Rowan. Now, the thing is, guys, how am I supposed to like this person? I'm supposed to fall madly in love with Rowan? And that's what I've heard. That's what I've heard from the Sarah J. Maas girlies, okay? How? I just don't see it right now. I do not see how I'm supposed to like this guy, because right now, not a vibe. Do you guys like my little coffee mug? Look, it's giving festive. I love it. And do you know what's so funny? My son's like, look, mum, it's like you, because ginger. Coffee through an IV drip. That's what I need today. That is my book update. So far, I'm thoroughly enjoying it. I do have to record my podcast today, which I'm very excited about. Breaking Up With Your Bad Habits. I think that's like a perfect one to like wrap up this year with. I still have a few more podcast episodes before I take a break until 2024. It's going to be a really good one, because I think it's going to, especially with the new moon coming in, I feel like it's going to really help direct people and like release things that no longer works for them, so that with this new moon coming up in the next few days, you can kind of manifest things in. Obviously, when I put this video up, it would have already been the new moon, but that podcast episode would already be up. So if you haven't listened to it, go check that out, because I'm recording it today and it's going to be really, really good. That's the goal today. Record the audio podcast and then try and read 150 pages of this book.
Used to rush to work and have no time for fun, and spend half of my life on full highway. Then the world closed down, stuck inside this town, home with the family, all new reality. Four walls and a door, nothing's like before, you and me and no distractions. So let's just keep it simple.
It's the next day. Let's do a little update on where I'm at in my reading journey. We are on page 271, chapter 33. I actually tried to read a little bit more last night. I was hoping to get to page 300, because I did do my 100-page goal. As I said, that's my goal when I read books, is to read 100 pages at a time. Now, I'm going to tell you why I do that goal. 50 pages is still fine. I just feel like 100 pages, I can really kind of get into the storyline a lot more, especially if you're just starting a fantasy book in particular. Even like romances, I would say it takes like 50 to 70 pages to get into it. Fantasy books, I would say it takes like a good 70 to 100 pages, especially at the beginning of a book, to actually really kind of understand the story, because there's so much like world building. And if it's a good fantasy book, it will also have some politics going in there. You're learning all about the characters and all that sort of stuff, and that's just really hard to grasp if you're only reading like 20 pages at a time. So my advice is, whenever you start like a new fantasy book, even like in a series, read the first 100 pages straight away in bulk, and then from there you can read like 50 pages at a time or whatnot, whatever works for you. That's just my personal advice, and that's helped me really love fantasy books the way I love them now, because I can actually grasp the storyline and the politics and the world building a lot better, and understand where the characters are kind of forming and they're having their character arc. I started watching the Twin Flame documentary, which is, I'm literally about to watch that right now as I have a coffee, because I want to do a podcast episode on that. So stay tuned, because I'm going to do a podcast episode on why I think twin flames are toxic. And I stand by what I say. They are not good for you, and the term should be cancelled. And it's very scary just how much the pipeline of twin flames can lead you down a path of like really dangerous, toxic relationships. I think the last time I spoke about Dorian, I said I kind of thought there was a love interest coming up. I definitely still stand by that. I'm really excited for who I think it's going to be. That's going to be really interesting. And there's a lot uncovering about like the plot line of magic and all that sort of stuff. I won't go into detail on that, because it will end up being a spoiler. I've had so many people DM me on Instagram saying this book is where things really go crazy. Why'd you guys tell me that, first of all? I mean, I'm excited about the fact that you told me that, don't get me wrong. But now I'm like anticipating part 2 of this book. Like, I'm like, is this about to turn crazy? I'm here for it. I'm here for the crazy.
Which we can do at home. Build a fort in the living room. Have a pillow fight, grilled cheese in our bedroom. Look at stars and eyes, keep it simple. Disconnect the telephone. Rip up all the calendars. Cancel every plan, catch up on The Bachelor. We'll still laugh again. The day we kept it simple. Always used to worry, always in a hurry. Let all of them.
It's officially the next day and I'm on chapter 47. So I'm thinking I'm actually going to finish this book today because I think I've got like 160 something pages left, which I think I can definitely do in a day today. I do have some clients, so I've got that this morning. And after that, I'm going to make time to read some more of this book, a check-in of where I'm at. There's been a lot of happening in this book because we've been introduced to new characters. We're not just in one place anymore. We're in like 3 different places, right? So one is with a new character. Another one is with Selena and Rowan, which I don't know how I feel about him yet. You know what I mean? Not sure. I'm sure I'll grow to really love him, but right now I'm just feeling like a little bit, I don't know. I can see the character arc with him coming up. So that's what I will mention. It's getting really good.
Focus on the wrong things, double tap and
I knew it. I knew it.
The world closed down, stuck inside this town.
Back with the reading update. So I just finished Heir of Fire. I did manage to finish it yesterday, which is so exciting. So today's Thursday, so I did in fact finish it on the Wednesday that I wanted to. The ending of this book, it was so good. It was so good. As always, the ending of a Sarah J Maas book is just so amazing and so much to take in. There were definitely bits of this book that I felt like a little bit slow. Cole or KL. I personally just say it both ways. I read it like Cole in my head, but I know it's KL out loud. So yeah, I definitely feel like when it kept going back to KL, I was like, this is literally getting so tedious. Like, I just do not like this character. And I know that at some point he comes up and has his own book and it's like the tandem read. And I'm a little bit nervous how I'm going to go with that, to be totally honest, because I find his character really, really boring. I just do not think he contributes much. Don't come for me if you're a Cole lover, KL lover. Don't come for me. I'm just saying I do not find his character particularly interesting. I feel like he's kind of like a side character, so I'm kind of struggling to understand how there's like a whole book that's kind of written about him. But if you're wondering why I'm wearing something different, my phone went flat, weather's turned, it's cold now, and I'm like, you know what? I want to be cozy. We're wearing our fourth wing top and some track pants. I just need to be cozy and comfy. But that's why different clothing, okay? Back to the book before my camera rudely went flat on me. At first, I wasn't sure how I felt about Manon, but then towards the end, I actually ended up really liking her character. And I'm like, okay, I feel like she's going to be a really cool character at some point in the future books. So I'm really excited to see each character as they go along. I will say also with Rowan too, obviously these are 2 characters that I introduced in this book. I wasn't even sure how I felt about his character, but in the end, I also liked him too. Just saying, if you read this book and you feel the same way as me, you might kind of go, I'm unsure about these characters, but then towards the end, you can kind of see their character arc improving and their character development happening, and you kind of learn a little bit more about them throughout the book. I feel like this book for me felt more like transitional. There was still a lot going on in it, but I don't know, I just don't know how to explain why I'm saying it's a transitional book. A lot of people rated this 5 stars. I personally rated it 4.5 stars. I think it was great, but there was parts for me that felt slower and slightly boring, especially in comparison to Crown of Midnight. I really, really enjoyed that book. I still think Crown of Midnight at the moment is my favorite book out of the entire series. And as you can see here, look, I have a little Sarah J Maas shelf. That's just Sarah J Maas books. So she's gonna go back on that shelf, and then I've got Queen of Shadows to go into. I'm very excited to see Dorian and Manon, Rowan and Selena obviously experience what they're about to experience. I did also last night see a reel, and it told me a little information about what's going to happen with 2 characters in particular, and I already had a feeling that these 2 characters were going to join forces at some point. Tell me why it gave me like full spoiler, so I'm kind of hoping that when I get to the book, I will say though, I actually do not know which book that's in. I don't know which one it is, so I guess that's the one thing. It's not like completely a spoiler because I don't actually know which book that happens in. It's just a bit of a bummer when social media kind of gives you spoilers towards books, especially when they're like quite big spoilers. Like, it's not just like a little spoiler, it's quite big. I feel like that's really devastating. Now I'm gonna put this on the shelf, and then I guess I'll see you guys in the next reading vlog when I read Queen of Shadows. And again, I'll let you guys know what I think of the next book without spoilers. I think that's it. Now I'm gonna go do some Christmas reading. I'm reading a Tessa Bailey Christmas book, and I'll chat with you in the next one. Bye!